What's going on, y'all? So this is Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 8, episode 11. Miss Parks go to Washington D.C. Okay, so the episode really wasn't much. It just caught up on some loose ends where we left off last week, and then this trip to Washington D.C. that Phaedra was going to for the Million Man March reunion. And I think it was the 20-year anniversary. Yes, this is the one where for some reason it really wasn't as much coverage as it should have been, so I appreciate the fact. I must say, I appreciate the fact that it wasn't so much bickering. It wasn't no drama really on this episode, and it brought awareness to a lot of the subjects that we need to talk about, okay? Especially concerning black lives and, black boys and, their upbringing and stuff like that. It wasn't so pretentious. But bitch, I'm gonna have to go in on a couple of people because they just irked my soul this episode, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? So, we start off, we got Kandi. Let's get Kandi and Todd out the situation. Kandi and Todd basically talking about, what it'd be if the baby was a girl. If the baby was a girl, I don't want no perms and no weaves and all this stuff in their hair at a young age. I understand that. Because, sometimes some mamas, kids, I be seeing this shit on the internet, and I'm like, the baby ain't even 3 years old yet, and you already perming and putting weave braids and all this stuff. Like, damn, let her get at least 8 or 7 shit before you do something like that. You fucking up the curl pattern, all right? Weighing down your hair with these braids and shit, like, you just doing too much. I get where he coming from, but I also got Kandi point talk about some, men be like, they don't want this woman with, they don't like the weaves and stuff, but then you get with a woman who wear weaves and all that stuff. So, I get both their points. And then he talked about some, if it's a boy, he don't want him wearing no open toe sandals or them other closed toe sandals, them old grandpa looking sandals. It was a cute little interaction. And basically they're talking about this restaurant that they want to open up, and this full of recipes that, Kandi got from her aunts, Bertha and Nora or whatever, and wants them to basically participate in the restaurant and want to name the restaurant the Old Lady Gang. They're on their way to see Bertha and Nora, and they going to Mama Joy's house. Bitch, when they got to Mama Joy's house, did y'all see they was making that sweet tea? They was making that tea on the stove, bitch. Probably cooled it down and probably put it in a pitcher with some Kool-Aid. I mean, not some Kool-Aid, with some sugar already in it, right? And then did you see old girl get the cup of sweet tea already and open up a Splenda package or whatever and pour some more sugar up in that bitch? I said, see, this is why we got diabetes and high blood pressure now. But hey, it is what it is. Remind me of that scene on House Party when that boy was just pouring all that sugar up in the Kool-Aid. God damn, my teeth was just hurting. But Mama Joy, she was like, hey, Kandi. Oh my God, it's Todd. I said, we all sitting here like, Mama Juice must have been drinking something. Mama Joyce turned to Mama Juice, because, bitch, what you was on? She was all extra happy to see them, and, she was down for the cause when they told them about the recipes and all this stuff. Bertha was like, bitch, I don't cook. Okay, I don't cook. I said, go ahead, Bertha. I love me some Bertha and Nora. They so funny to me. But they was like, we want to name it the Old Lady Gang. They was like, girl, please. But they was just coming up with other stuff. Look at this, one braid always sticking out. They was coming up with some other names and shit. And Mama Joyce was basically like, I like it. I said, okay, Mama Joyce, I'm not used to you. She was like, I'm getting along with everybody, with Todd, with Karma, and everybody. I'm just happy to see everybody. And I said, we're going to see how long this lasts, but okay, it's real nice to see them getting along, and actually having a family function where everybody can come together and just kick it and be cool. After that, we get this whole thing with, let me just get this out the way, because I'm having so many mixed feelings about it. Like last week, a lot of us did say that King needs to just move on from trying to meet her mom and the situation. We also agreed that it was fucked up that her mom didn't want nothing to do with her. But I want to know the status. Like, was it an open? Like, did they actually give her up? They didn't give her up for adoption. She just gave the child away, right? Because like if you give a child up for adoption, you know, you have that right to either want to close adoption or open adoption, or the child can come and find you and interact with you later on in life or not. Now, if it was something like that, I can understand if the reason why she don't want to be a part of her life or whatever. But I'm not getting that vibe. I'm getting that vibe that, Kenya is very aware of who her mother is. And from what people were saying, um, she even met her at one point already too. So I was reading the comments and people was putting some shit down in the comment. I was like, oh, so she met her one time already. And a lot of people were saying it do seem like the mama do got some type of mental illness or whatever. Could be bipolar, could be a depressant, manic depressant, could be a schizophrenic. I don't know. But I understand when you feel like, okay, I'm not going to be able to raise this child, or I really didn't want the child. I'm not going to abort it. I'm just going to have it and give it away. And that's all that you want to do with it. You don't want no connection, no contact or whatever. And I understand that. And people have the right as the birth parent or whatever to say, I don't want no connection and I don't want to talk and all this stuff. And that's understandable. But it's also understandable for that child to want to reach out and find who it is that made them, who carried them, But it has to be a level of respect on both sides. So I get where the mother is coming from. I still think it's fucked up. I still think it's fucked up because it's more so fucked up in a sense, and especially in this episode when Aunt Lori came over with her daughter Shay, which is Kenya's cousin. Okay, and Kenya is dead in her feelings, and I feel like she has every right to be in her feelings because her Aunt Lori left before she can even say anything to her to go run to her sister. And I understand that's your sister. This is a person that you grew up with. This is your younger sister, and you want to protect her and all this stuff. But I feel like at some point you gotta sit down with your sister and say, this is kind of fucked up the way this whole shit is going on. Okay, I can't keep telling this girl, you don't want nothing to do with her because she's a grown woman and she's gonna do what she want to do. But you can't keep coming to me and being like, well, I'm upset because she did this and she did that. Take care of your responsibility. You know what I'm saying? And I just, the way that conversation went about, it just it's such a tricky subject, and it's such a tricky, making me have mixed feelings because I can understand and I can see the sides, and it all makes sense from each side of each person. Kenya is the child in this situation. She's upset. She wants that connection, and I don't even really think she wants a connection with her mother. She just wants some answers that she has not yet been given, and no one will give it to her. And I feel like if even Aunt Lori would either, just put it out there, the real reason what shit happened, and between the mother and her and all this stuff, and why it went down the way that it went down, if she hasn't already, Kenya would let this shit go. But Aunt Lori won't do that. So she like, fuck it, bitch. If you won't, tell me what it is, I'm going to go try to find this shit out until it calms my nerve. And I understand what Kenya is doing, because sometimes I get into a place where if something comes into my mind, it won't go until I do something about it. And it'll have me stressed out and anxiety ridden, and I will have to do something about it and that's the only way I get rid of it. So that maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But that whole conversation it kind of disgusted me because in a way, from what I got from it, people may interpret it differently. I got at the end that she was basically, especially when the cousin interjected and was like, you want a mother, I loaned you my mom, you can have this and all this stuff, and you don't want that weight on you, you need to just let it go. I get that. But and that's understandable. And Kenya, at this point in time, you do need to let it go, because it's like every time you try to reach out, every time you do something, you keep getting met with this bullshit, and you keep, furthering your heart being broken. And, I feel like at some point you're going to have to let it go and move on so that you can move on. Go speak to somebody and all this stuff so that you can just go and live your life and just focus on the people who actually care and love for you, But it's understandable that a person will still want to know where they come from and all this stuff. I understand that. But when Aunt Lori was sitting there, she was just going off, and it just, the way that she came off in the beginning was like, bitch, you ain't got no right. That's my sister, so I'm gonna run to my sister when she need her help. I'm gonna be behind my sister no matter what. Even if she fucked up, even if she did some stupid shit. I'm sitting here like, ain't nobody in the family on y'all side told her, baby, this is messed up. This is messed up what you doing. So you just literally just standing behind her and being like, okay, I'm here for you 100%. If you don't want to talk to your child, even though I got this relationship with my child and all this stuff, you can do whatever you want to. And I'm like, I couldn't just sit back and let something like this happen. I'll be like, I'll be looking at you funny for a long time unless you give me a real reason, unless you went about the right channels of adoption and stuff like that. But you just sitting back and you just letting it sit. It just seemed like she just letting the system manipulate her a little bit into believing all this stuff. I don't know. It just, that whole conversation rubbed me the wrong way. And when Kenya got upset and she was yelling, I said, she told her to calm down. Kenya's like, don't tell me to calm down. I was like, I was here for Kenya on this. I said, I could see like this part for once in my life. This was kind of real. I was like, yeah, Kenya going through some bullshit. And sometimes people go through a lot of shit and their past and unknown stuff is the reason why they act the way they do. Y'all can say that's why Kenya do that and why she don't have certain relationships and certain relationships don't prosper or whatever. That do play a part in it, but still, girl, I hope you figure this shit out, and I hope this be a lesson to you. Like, your mama ain't shit. Your mama ain't shit. Okay? And like I said, the mother has a right to say that she don't want to see the child or whatever. And if that's the case, Kenya, just let it go. Just let it go, because you already see what is going to happen. And I know it's hard to let it go, but my skin is so smooth and soft. Oh my God, I've been using apple cider vinegar, y'all. Yes, and that black soap. It's all just so smooth and shit. Come on, bitch. Come on. Come on. Okay, but anyway, y'all tell me how y'all feel about it, because I know it's going to be, mixed emotion. Like, I literally can see both sides of the coin. I see the mama side. I'm picturing what she may be going through. I'm picturing and I'm seeing how Kenya feel as a child. She feel neglected. She wants that love. And that's what her goal is. And I really don't even think she wants that from her mom. She just wants some answers. That's it. She just, look, get a bitch one conversation, she'll be fine. That's what it feel like for Kenya. And Aunt Lori, she's trying to protect her. It is something else that's going on that Aunt Lori don't want to put out to Kenya, because she probably know Kenya probably going to spill it on camera, and she don't want to put it out on the cameras yet. And it's deeper. And I don't think we'll ever find out, because technically it's not our business. But I hope eventually Kenya find out whatever it is. And, Kenya whole thing is the only, Aunt Lori and her cousin is the only people that she got on her mother's side. And she don't want to lose that. So they made up right away. Bitch, it wouldn't have been me, because I would have been pissed off for a couple of days or so. Maybe a couple of weeks before, I said, okay, bitch, we can be cool again. No, I gotta be mad for a minute. I'm that type of person. Let me soak for a second. I'm petty. But moving on from that, I know y'all finna go in on the comments for that one. But let's get to this. Phaedra invited Kim, Sheree, Portia, all to come down to Washington D.C. and because she was going to meet Congressman Frederica, is it Williams or whatever, Frederica from Florida. Okay, we're gonna just keep it like that. And then she was gonna be meeting up with some other, prominent figures in the Capitol or whatever, having lunch, brunch or whatever with them, and then speaking at the Million Man March thing. And I was like, okay, I'm loving this. Bringing awareness and all this stuff, because this is what we need. Let's put the bullshit aside for a minute and let's, touch on some subjects that's really been going on, that's really actually important to our community at this moment. So Kim, we see the contrast between Phaedra and Kim. Phaedra, she gets to Washington, D.C. First of all, let's talk about that little conversation. We already know little Aiden is just so damn cute. So damn cute. And when Apollo called and he was talking to him, and, Apollo, it is so nice to see that Aiden hasn't lost any type of, sense of respect. I know he's young, but since Apollo been gone for a minute, he still respects him enough to know that if Daddy say, you better act right, I better act right before I get my ass beat. That's how he was acting when he was like, I don't want to have to come down there. I don't want to have to, discipline you or whatever the fuck Apollo said. I said, like, how? 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 But anyway, it was cute because little Aiden was like, yes, sir. First he said, yes, ma'am. He was like, I mean, yes, sir. I was like, look at this. And then we see the difference in parenting between Kim and Phaedra. Comparing contrast. Comparing. They both got boys, okay? Same thing, they got boys, they love their kids, and they're taught really well and all this stuff. But the discipline and the training and the respect for girl, let me tell you something, Kim. Your son is a little rude for me. Okay. I know he 8 years old, little Sebastian, he got a mouth on him. Alright, he's gonna be in the principal office. He's gonna be in the principal office when he gets into junior high. He really is. Because he gonna tell somebody off. He gonna tell a teacher off like, bitch, why the fuck? I just feel it in my spirit as that's what's gonna happen. He gonna be a problem student for some reason. He gonna be one of those smart aleck, smart as shit, but asking questions or just be like, bitch, I'm bored as fuck. I don't want to do this because I'm bored. I was just like, all right, we see Phaedra, she has to go down to Washington, D.C. with a whole team. A single mother, I need to have a team. But then we see Kim, she don't need a team. She just down there with herself and her two boys. Her husband didn't come with her this time, which I don't understand. I miss why he didn't come, but, whatever. And it kind of threw me off because, we got Phaedra there. Bitch, Phaedra was there. Phaedra was there listening, asking questions. We always sitting here like, girl, it's time to redeem yourself. You better ask the right question. We was just sitting here looking at the TV waiting for this bitch to slip up. Because y'all know she's still looking for the conductor of the Underground Railroad and where it's going to exit and where the drop-off point at. You know what I'm saying? She's still watching. She's still looking. But, hold on. Okay. But after that, Kim gets down there. She gets down there a little bit late. They have to get another car to pick her up. Her kids just basically went around. Kim acts like she can't really control her kids or whatever. I know you got a little baby, but damn, And the little Sebastian, I'm like, help your mama, bitch. I don't mean to call the kid a bitch, but just help your mama, And so they get there. They go to Congressman Frederica's office and they're talking, and because Phaedra has this organization called Saving Our Sons. It's like saving our daughters, and it's basically because she has sons, so therefore all this stuff that's going on about these young kids getting killed and boys and all this stuff, and you want to prepare your sons and get them off to college and all this stuff in good high schools, good colleges and stuff. And Congresswoman, she has this program that has sent a lot of African American boys to college and stuff like that. And Phaedra was basically telling her, I want to fashion my her organization off of hers like that. And at one point the congresswoman was saying some good stuff, the whole time. And she was like, she recently had this conversation with one of these young little black boy that was like, where's the presents for the white people or whatever. And at this point in time, this is where it really fucked me up because Kim had her son. You see Phaedra there with Aiden. I don't even think the little baby was with her. Okay? He probably was gone somewhere else. But Aiden was sitting down there. Even though he was doing all this, he was quiet. Alright? Sebastian is sitting over there doing whatever. And then you got the other little boy just frolicking all on the floor and shit. Just being all loud. And I'm like, Kim, get your son. So I really wasn't, like Sheree was in her feelings or whatever. Felt the way when Kim got up and was like, excuse me, I need to go have conversation or whatever. I thought she was going to go discipline her baby, tell him to shut the fuck up, the little baby, And I was like, okay, I'm here for that because it was a little bit rude to have the baby just, and I know babies will be just, talking all over the place or whatever because he's a little baby. But get him, gather him, let him calm down, and then come back and continue the conversation. No, that's not really why she picked him up. She got him out of there because she didn't want them to hear the conversation that was being had. And I'm sitting here like, Kim Fields, baby, do you not see the social and the political climate that is going on within our community as it is right now, especially with young black boys? They need to know this shit. All right? They need to know that. They need to hear this. All right? So that they can know how to navigate through life. All these young kids, Tamir Rice was only 12 years old when he got shot and killed. 4 years older than your son. He needs to sit down there and listen to this shit. I understand you want to probably be the one to tell him, but that's a conversation that he could have listened to. You know, it wasn't nothing bad about it or whatever. And then another instance, they going to the little dinner or whatever, the brunch or whatever, and all you hear is her son, this is boring. Did nobody want to come to this stupid Capitol Hill? I want to go do this, and don't nobody want to learn about this stupid, this. And then basically Kim was somewhat co-signing it and then gonna say some, you know, we gonna go. She left again. And I'm sitting here like, Kim, Phaedra told you, because this bitch I'm sorry, I had to say it. She literally gonna say, I'm thinking, you know, Sebastian want to go play, and the other one want to go to sleep. I'm like, you're in fucking Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. Phaedra told you what she was coming down there for. It was not for fun and games. So you want to get in your feelings because you feel like this is not an environment for the kids or whatever? They can learn something. You need to sit your ass down and learn from this, because you're going to go to school and they're going to try to tell you something different. Okay, so learn from the people that's actually there. And I'm just sitting here. I was disappointed in Kim in that aspect. I understand people parenting skills is different, and you probably want to teach them your own self. And I don't know how she teach her kids, but that was something that they could have listened to and gather from, especially the 8-year-old, especially because he knew what the fuck was going on. He knew what was going on. If you come out your mouth and say this shit is boring and stupid, bitch, you know what the fuck is going on. And after that, you know, I was just like irritated at that. They go to the Million Man March. She talking about some, you know, she gonna have to leave the march early because she gotta go to a private speaking engagement at this organization for lymphoma and leukemia or whatever. Okay, that's understandable, but why did you come? To make it seem like, you know, you was there to support, because you literally rode there to leave to go to the airport. You didn't even stay for the march to start. I was like, you should have just left from the hotel. Or you should have just stayed home. And you should have just left the kids with Chris. That's what you should have did. Okay? Or you should have said, you know, this is a good opportunity, but I'm going to have to pass it up because, you know, certain situations ain't going to allow me to go in and all this stuff. I didn't get it. I did not get it. I did not like the way she handled that whole situation. I didn't. But, you know, at one point, did y'all see when they was doing the march and they was doing the speeches and stuff like that? And they was all paying attention. Bitch, wait. When Cairo got on the bus, Sheree's son, thank God he grew up into his looks, because he was looking so much like his daddy, but he looked like his daddy and his mama, but he looked like a handsome young man. He was like, I'm 6'6", 19 years old. Phaedra was like, okay. Portia was like, okay. I said, Portia, calm your little puss. Calm that shit down. That is a child. Okay? And I'm sitting here like, Cairo finna leave this bus with 2 sugar mamas, bitch. Okay, pay your college tuition, all right? Because you know your mama ain't really gonna like thing your daddy is. But, you know, it is what it is. And so they was at the little march or whatever, and they was giving the speeches and listening and all that stuff. Okay, Phaedra had to throw it out there that Louis Farrakhan, you know, Minister Louis Farrakhan had to and personally invited her to come down and do this stuff. I was like, all right, let's name drop like a motherfucker, okay? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, okay? And so they was sitting there and they was listening. And at one point, Portia was like, you know, I'm hungry. We ain't got no snacks. It was like 2:00. When this shit gonna end? I probably would have been the same way. But then they was sitting there eating, and then all of a sudden the dude was like, you don't want to be no whore, dude. You don't want to be out whoring or some shit like that. And it was like, ooh, that caught everybody's attention because everybody looked up like, but one of the best moments of the whole episode was at the end when Phaedra brought over the mothers of some of the people that she was trying to help, or what her organization is trying to help. And I think, was that Sean Bell's mother or something? I know Trayvon Martin's mother was there too. And that one lady who was talking and was like, you got your son sitting there right there with you. I just wish sometimes that I can wake up and I can have my son with me. And I felt her pain so much. I was just like, ugh. My heart go out. That was like the most touching and realest part of the fucking episode. But y'all tell me how y'all feel about it, and I will see you guys later. I'm finna check out Real Housewives of Potomac and see how it is, and I might do a review, might not, but you'll see. You'll see depending on how I feel and how I'm digging it. But I'll see y'all later. Peace. One more thing, and I damn near forgot, this shows how much I really was paying attention. I cared. Cynthia met up with Nene. They talked. They was having dinner, all that stuff. Nene clearly got an issue with the fact that Cynthia and Kenya are besties now. So that was basically it with their interaction. I guess we're going to see more with them next week. But I didn't want to leave that out, because somebody can be like, bitch, you forget about, because I really don't. Nene still looks like